What would you do if your own dad told the world you were crazy just because he was scared you'd outshine his golden child? What would you do if he trashed your name for 10 years, called you unstable, killed your opportunities behind your back? And then one night, live on national TV, you got the mic. Would you stay quiet? Or would you read the receipts? Because when I finally spoke, I didn't yell. I didn't beg. I exposed him. And trust me, when the board members, the country club friends, and his business partners heard the truth, yeah, that empire didn't crumble. It cracked. But here's the real question. When the man who erased you comes back asking for a meeting, do you forgive? Or do you remind him you were never temporary? If you've ever been underestimated, overlooked, or straight up rewritten by your own family, this one's gonna hit different. Smash that like button, subscribe to the channel. Your support? That's how we keep telling stories that matter. Now let's get into it. I'm 32 now. But 10 years ago, on the wettest, coldest night of that year, my father stood in the doorway of the house I grew up in, tossed my suitcase onto the porch, and said, "Figure it out." $47. That's what I had in my pocket. $47 and a suitcase with a busted zipper. And the wildest part? I didn't steal. I didn't lie. I didn't mess up. I just asked for the same thing my brother got without even having to open his mouth. College tuition. That's it. That's the crime. See, my dad had already paid every dime of Derek's education. Brand new car at 18, full ride covered before graduation. No questions, no conditions. Me? I asked once, in front of family. And apparently that was unforgivable. What he said that night in the restaurant still echoes in my head. You're a girl. You'll get married. Why would I invest in something that won't carry my name? 32 people heard it. 32. And not one stood up. Not my mom, not my grandfather, not my brother. I remember driving back to my tiny off-campus apartment after that dinner, feeling like I had just been erased in real time. 3 days later, he sent the email. The one I saved. The one that would change everything. You were born a girl. That's reality. Derek is the future. You are temporary. Temporary. That word hit different. That's when something in me cracked, but something else woke up too. I didn't respond. I didn't argue. I didn't blast him on Facebook like half my friends told me to. I created a folder on my laptop. I named it Evidence. Because deep down, I knew this wasn't over. But here's the part nobody talks about. The exile didn't stop at kicking me out. Oh no, that would have been too simple. He didn't just remove me from his house. He rewrote me. Within weeks, family friends were calling asking if I was okay. Asking if I was getting treatment. Treatment. For what? Turns out my father had crafted a whole storyline. I was unstable. I was delusional. I had episodes. The family tried everything. I refused help. He told everyone. Golf buddies, church members, business partners, extended relatives. He didn't just cut me off. He professionally assassinated my reputation. And I had two choices. Fight it or outgrow it. Now, let me be real with you. At 22, broke, eating ramen 4 nights a week, juggling 2 part-time jobs and full course loads, I didn't have the power to fight a man with 3 decades of social capital. He had influence, he had money, he had connections. I had $47 and rage. So I did the only thing I could. I worked. I worked like I had something to prove. Because I did. 4 hours of sleep, morning shift at a cafe, night shift at a design office, top of my class. You ever been so underestimated that it fuels you? Like someone lit a match under your spine? That was me. And somewhere in the middle of that chaos, I met Eleanor. 70 years old, sharp as a blade, legend in architecture. After class one day, she stopped me and said, "You design like you're angry." I laughed. She wasn't wrong. She took me under her wing. Didn't ask about my drama. Didn't care about my last name. She cared about my work. And for the first time in my life, someone saw me without comparing me to Derek. That changed everything. Years passed. No contact with my father. Except he kept talking. Kept spreading the narrative. Every time I built something bigger, he told someone I was falling apart. Every time I moved up, he told someone I was spiraling. And I stayed silent. Not because I was weak, but because I was building something louder than words. Fast forward 10 years. I wasn't the broke college kid anymore. I was leading major commercial projects, published, invited to speak at conferences, shortlisted for the biggest award in my industry. The ceremony was going to be broadcast live. Hundreds of thousands watching. And here's the twist nobody saw coming. My father was hosting a watch party. Didn't even know I was nominated. Just thought it would be good networking. Imagine that. 10 years of telling people I couldn't function. And now they were all about to watch me win. The night of the ceremony felt unreal. Backstage, bright lights, camera crews. My hands shaking, but steady at the same time. Eleanor squeezed my shoulder and said, "You don't need revenge. Just tell the truth." That line sat heavy in my chest. When they called my name, the room exploded. Applause. Music. Spotlight. But in my head, silence. Because I knew, somewhere in Connecticut, my father was frozen mid-sip of whiskey. I walked to that podium in an emerald dress and red heels I saved 3 months to buy. And I had 2 speeches in my clutch. The safe one and the real one. I chose real. I thanked my team, thanked Eleanor. Then I looked straight into the camera. Tonight I want to thank the man who spent 10 years telling everyone I was mentally unstable. The room shifted. You could feel it. I stayed silent because I knew I couldn't out-talk a lie. I had to outlive it. And then I read his email. Word for word. You were born a girl. That's reality. You could hear a pin drop. Dad, if you're watching, I'm not unstable. I'm not broken. I'm not temporary. I held up the award. This isn't revenge. It's proof. Standing ovation. Not slow. Not polite. Thunder. And in that moment, I didn't feel powerful. I felt free. But what happened next? That's where it gets crazy. Because the internet doesn't sleep. And when truth hits live TV, it spreads like wildfire. That speech? 3 million views in 48 hours. My phone was blowing up. News outlets calling. Family members apologizing. People who hadn't spoken to me in a decade suddenly remembered my number. Robert Chen, the developer who once randomly canceled a contract with me. Turns out my father had emailed him warning that I was unstable. Sabotaged my career behind my back. And now? Robert wanted to meet. Funny how clarity changes things. Meanwhile, back in Connecticut, my father's circle started shrinking. Business partners questioning him. Country club friends avoiding eye contact. Board members restructuring leadership. He wasn't canceled. He was exposed. And exposure hits different when you built your empire on control. But here's what nobody expects in stories like this. I didn't celebrate. I wasn't dancing on his downfall. Because revenge feels loud. And I was done being loud. What I wanted wasn't his humiliation. It was my peace. And peace? Peace is quiet. A week later, he emailed me. Called me ungrateful. Said I exaggerated. Demanded a retraction. Said I embarrassed the family name. Family name. The same name he said I wasn't worth investing in. I replied once. Calm. Clear. I didn't embarrass you. I stopped protecting your lies. Blocked. Done. No more chapters. But wait, because the story doesn't end there. It never does. My mom called 2 weeks later. Not whispering, not scared, strong. I filed for separation. 36 years she stayed silent. That speech? It didn't just free me. It woke her up. My brother? He apologized. Not with grand speeches, but with therapy, with change, with showing up differently for his daughter. Yeah, he had a girl, named her Grace, said he'd never let her feel temporary. And me? I became partner at my firm. Started mentoring young women from tough backgrounds. Didn't talk about my